And why do people get married? And it used to be that, people got married because there was a sociological and economic alliances that were being made between couples. In other words, even to some extent in some of the third world countries, there are still marriage as a contract. It's not this concept that we have developed in the Western culture of you meet somebody, you fall in love with them, you marry them, and it's an emotional connection. But in some of the more traditional cultures, people marry because they're trying to build like a financial, kingdom.
Stability for their group.
Well, more than that, it's they're trying to build a contract between two families. Like your farm is large, and my family's farm is large. But if we can combine those farms by marrying you to me, then that builds our financial dominance in the society or the village or the town where we live. So that's what I meant when I said there's a contractual issue between two people that was negotiated and policed by the family. So in other words, the elder members of the families, meaning the fathers, usually got together and basically said, you marry my daughter, I'll give you a dowry, but if you marry my daughter, then we get a chance to, combine our lands and combine our crops. And so there's a contractual link. And for thousands of years, it was primarily this economic and political contract between two people or two families, because it took, of course, more than one farm or one family for the community to thrive. We need to have multiple families. We need to have these coalitions of families that are being built up. And the real issue is people are looking at your mates and their skills and their resources and their thrift and their industriousness as, when they're looking for potential mates. In today's society, there's people also looking at those factors, but they're also looking at personality and attractiveness. Attractiveness is a major
That's why I married you. That's one of the reasons I married you. You fine.
Well, that's sweet, honey. But attractiveness is an important factor because, and people spend a huge amount of money trying to be attractive. And it just used to be that women were in the quote-unquote the attractiveness market. Now men are in the attractiveness market from the standpoint of people wanting to look young and act young and have now, get the gray out of the hair and no wrinkles on the face and to keep their physicality, their attractiveness. I really think that's one of the reasons why the Olympics are so popular, because people love to see young, sleek, strong people, and people want to aspire to be like those people. So that's something that these are positive attributes that people want to maintain. And now that people are living longer, no one wants to be slumped over and tired and drawn, because if you're going to stay in the job market, you gotta keep yourself in some sort of a reasonable manner. So these are all the factors that people are looking for when they get into the marriage market. Of course, these has all kinds of psychological implications as well as legal implications. In other words, when people marry, of course, it's a legal contract. You have to have the capacity to enter into a legal contract, meaning that if you are a minor child under the age of 18, you do not have the capacity to marry. You have to have the consent of a parent in order to enter into a marital relationship under age 18. If you are mentally incompetent, meaning you've been deemed to be mentally, you have dementia, you have Alzheimer's, you have some sort of cognitive delay, you cannot enter into a marital contract, because the concept is you don't know what you're doing, don't have the capacity to be able to manage yourself. If you are married and you become mentally incompetent and need to have a guardian, your spouse is your natural guardian. In other words, as opposed to anybody else in the world, if people are competing to be someone's guardian, it will be the spouse. If you are a minor child and you need to have a guardian because you're under a disability simply because of your age, your parent is your guardian. So these are all the things. It's a legal issue as well as a psychological issue. Honey, do you have any perspectives you want to share with our Psychology and Law listening family as to the psychological issues related to marriage and selecting marital mates.
Well, honey, yes. I mean, I'm just sitting here listening to you. I'm absolutely fascinated. Seriously, I could sit here and listen to you for the whole hour, talking about the historical reasons why people entered into marriage arrangements. And as we were talking about that, I was thinking about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I was thinking about how Jacob, he ran away from his father's house because his brother Esau was going to kill him because Jacob and his mama, Rebecca, conned Esau out of the birthright by tricking Isaac. And then when he went to his uncle Laban's house, Rebecca's brother, he actually wanted to marry Rachel, who was one of the daughters of Laban, but he had to marry Leah first because Leah was the oldest.
So Rachel was the more beautiful.
Rachel was the more beautiful. But interestingly enough, honey, when it came to his industriousness, the Bible talks a lot about how Jacob was a very, very industrious young man and how he caused the flocks of Laban to multiply, and how when he left, he separated out his flocks from Laban's flocks. And it really, really shows the whole issue of the financial arrangement that was related to marriage in those days. And actually, when Isaac went to get his wife, when he went to get Rebecca from his homeland, from her homeland, he brought stuff. I mean, he bought clothes and jewelry, and to say, hey, Abraham, he's got stuff. He's a rich man. So that was part of the reason why Rachel was able to get on the truck and come back. So your concept, honey, of people having arranged marriages to multiply the wealth of the families is really on point. And that's one of the major things that people did in ancient times. Now, Benazir Bhutto, who was slated to be the Prime Minister of Pakistan a few years ago, before she was tragically assassinated. Some years ago, when Benazir was going through her trial by fire, because her father was slated to be, I think, Prime Minister, and he was assassinated, and she was thrown in jail, in prison, because of the political intrigue in Pakistan. And when she got out of jail, she needed a husband, because in those societies, women can't be running around the country single. They don't play that. Ask the Taliban; they'll tell you. They'll tell you that. And Benazir selected this man who was he was kind of popular. He was wealthy. I think he was in the entertainment business.
He was a pretty powerful guy.
A pretty powerful guy. And they asked Benazir. They said, "Do you love him?" And her response was interesting. She said, "I will learn to love him. I will grow to love him." So in Eastern culture, the whole idea of romantic love historically has not been the same as in Western culture. Western culture basically has seen love, as you so eloquently said, honey, as an issue of the heart. You see somebody, you fall in love with them, and you marry them, and you develop assets together, you have children, and then you go on about your life. That's the Western view of love.